This man would appear on the very same TV dating show as his victim. Oh, hi there, stranger. Today I'm going to be telling you a particularly gruesome case, so viewer discretion is advised. Trigger warning, today's case does involve the partial consumption of the victim, so if you are sensitive to this type of topic, then I advise you skip this video. If you are sticking with me, then let's get to it. So I'm telling you about Anthony Morley, born in 1972. Morley alleges that he was AR'd by an employer at the age of 17 and that this left him in deep turmoil over his sexuality. He entered and won Mr. Gay UK in 1993. Although he was in a steady relationship with a girl at the time, he did say he was open to the idea of relationships with men. I believe he was actually the first Mr. Gay UK. But either way, when he won £1,000 and a trip to Gran Canaria. A few years later, he would appear on a dating show called God's Gift, which was hosted by Davina McCall. It was quite a popular show that ran from 1995 until 1998. So Morley went on the show, and the aim was that he would choose a suitor to date out of a group of men, and in that group of men was his future victim, Damien Oldfield. I'm unclear if the pair were properly introduced at that time or not. At some point, Morley had taken his winnings from the Mr. Gay UK and moved to London with dreams of becoming a dancer and a model. I really don't know if that happened before or after his appearance on God's Gift. The modelling and dancing career didn't work out quite as expected, and so Morley returned to Leeds, where he trained as a chef. He eventually qualified as a sous chef, specialising in seafood. But back in Leeds, Morley continued to torment himself over his own sexuality. He was in a relationship with a man who he ended up attacking with a meat cleaver. Morley was in drink at the time and so luckily missed the swing at his boyfriend's head, which probably would have been fatal. His boyfriend at the time managed to call for an ambulance, but when they arrived, paramedics were threatened by Morley, who had an air pew-pew, and so this resulted in the police being called. And so Anthony Morley was clearly a disturbed and conflicted man who could be violent when in drink. Damien Oldfield, in contrast, was basically the opposite to Morley. He was openly gay and a happy guy and comfortable and confident in himself. He was described as someone who loved life and was easygoing and really friendly. He was advertising manager for the magazine Bent, further solidifying his complete confidence in his own sexuality. Around March 2008, when Damien was 33 years old, he met Morley by chance while they were both out on a night out at a gay bar in Leeds. The pair got along that night and they ended up going back to Damien's house together, where they would kiss and cuddle, but Morley slept on the sofa and Damien in his own bed. After this, they texted back and forth for a month or so before arranging a date, and the date was set for the 23rd of April 2008. Morley spent that morning, early afternoon, drinking with a different friend before going to meet Damien at the pub. Morley would drink some more with Damien at the pub before both of them went back to Morley's for a meal and a movie. Once there, they shared a further 2 bottles of wine and ate a meal that Morley had prepared for them before going upstairs to watch a movie in bed. They had both stripped down to their boxer shorts to get into bed to watch the movie. At some point later that night, Morley entered a kebab shop in his dressing gown and slippers, covered in red liquid, and asked for the police to be called. Morley's story to the police was that he had taken Damien's life because he had been AR'd. But I think this was in reference to what he claimed had happened when he was 17. Now, Morley would say how he had asked Damien if they could take it slow, that Damien had agreed. This was emphasised by Morley, and it would later be evidenced in court by text messages between the two. He would say that that's why he felt so comfortable to have Damien around him like that, because they had previously agreed that they would take it slow. At trial, Morley said that while he was asleep in bed, he had woken up to Damien doing something to him, and he felt betrayed by this because of their previous discussions of taking things slow. He said that he went downstairs to calm himself down and that he recalled returning back upstairs, but that after that he had no memory of the events until he came around when he cut his finger amidst his attack on Damien. The judge did not accept that version of events and said that if Damien had a chance to, he would point out that it was Morley that texted him to invite him on the date, that it was Morley that bought the drink that they both drank, that it was Morley that invited Damien back to his flat and cooked him a meal, that it was Morley that invited Damien upstairs to his bedroom, and it was Morley that voluntarily took off his own clothes and got into bed with Damien. The judge said to Morley of Damien, quote, "Everything he did you consented to, if not expressly, then impliedly." The pathologist concluded that Damien had been asleep when Morley had attacked his neck with a sharp implement and then used that sharp implement to impale him many, many times. Following Damien's passing, some sections of his flesh were removed from his thigh and chest area. Morley had seasoned some of this and cooked it in olive oil. A chewed piece was found in a bin in his kitchen. Morley maintained his defence of diminished responsibility. Why do they always think they can claim diminished responsibility? And although Morley did admit to the acts, he admitted to them because of the evidence presented to him and claimed amnesia the whole way through. Morley was examined and assessed, but there was no evidence of a personality disorder. He was in turmoil and conflict over his own sexuality. He basically couldn't come to terms with it. And Damien was, of course, the opposite, gay and proud, as he should. May he rest in a rainbow paradise. It would take the jury just 3 hours to find a guilty verdict in October 2008. The judge said Morley, quote, "plumbed depths rarely encountered in our court." When sentencing, the judge took all factors into consideration, mitigating and aggravating, and he found it appropriate to set a starting point of 30 years. And so Anthony Morley was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 30 years to serve. He was 36 years old at the time. Poor Damien and his loved ones, my heart just breaks for them. And I don't think 30 years is enough. He should have had a whole life tariff, in my opinion. Of course, it doesn't mean he's getting out in 30 years. It's up to the parole board to decide if he's safe to be released. And he'll be 66 years old, and I hope they decide that he shouldn't be. So if you've watched any of my videos, then you will know that age does not stop them. And certain sicknesses just can't be cured. As ever, please let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, if you've stayed with me up until now, then thank you for watching, and I will see you for the next one.